Hello everyone, in this video we will be going over how to go about installing Ubuntu on a bare metal HP DL380 Gen9 server. Now this video has two sections. The first section is preparing the server, preparing the HP server, and the second section is installing the operating system, and in our case it's Ubuntu. I will be using ILO in order to provision this. However, you can do this by directly connecting via the console using a crash cart or anything like that. Please remember, in order to use the ILO console, you will need ILO advanced license, and I will show you how to test that. So let's get started. First time you're using the administrator login, you may not have the password. There's no default password. The password for the ILO is hanging off a tag that's tied into the server, so look out for that. So once we log in, first thing we are going to do is going to check this license type. It says, ILO advanced. I'm using an evaluation license. Now if you go under administrator licensing, you need to make sure that you're at least using an ILO advanced license. In my case, as I said, I'm using an evaluation. And now it is going to, as it boots up, it's going to give us a prompt, and I think in my screen is going to pop up somewhere over here to press F9 in order to get into the system settings. There it is, F9. Press F9. And also what we also want to be sure is that at least all these boxes are checked. So once we are over here, we go into system configurations, and then we go to the smart array controller. And once we go to smart array controller, we say exit and launch HP smart storage administrator. Do that. And in over here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to set up the RAID configurations on all the drives that have been installed on the server. So I'm going to go to Smart Storage Administrator. Alright, so once we are over here, actually your mouse cursor should start working. We go into the RAID at HBA controllers, and then click on, and over here you see it says 0 unassigned drives. Sorry, 4 unassigned drives. So once we come over here, we go under logical devices, and then of course there is no logical devices. Let's go create an array. I'm going to go ahead, select all 4 of them, click on create array. Now since this is lab and any kind of RAID configurations will take a little bit of time for it to pop up, I'm going to just click on RAID 0, and you see how when you select different things, it automatically comes up with different optimal things that you need to do. I'm going to just click on RAID 0. I'm not going to play with a whole lot of stuff over here. And again, maximum size, so I'm going to get a 1 terabit of logical drive. So I'm going to click on create logical drive. Okay, so now successfully created, and it seems to be looking all good. You click finish. Now you've got this amazing logical drive. It says 1 error logical drive. Earlier, if you remember, it said 0. So I think we're looking good over here. Now next thing we need to do is just reboot the server. And once the server starts coming back up, we need to log back in order to make that drive as an active drive. Alright, we press F9 again. Alright, once we do that, we have the same menu all over again. Go to system configuration. This time we go to the first option, BIOS platform configuration. So we go to the system options, go to boot options. Now boot mode is going to be default for UEFI mode. Now there are a couple of things that you could do. You can go and enable that particular drive in UEFI mode, and however for me it works best if I'm using the legacy BIOS mode. It's not a, UEFI has its own advantages, but for the purpose of this demo, we'll be selecting legacy BIOS mode. And as it says, reboot is required for boot mode changes. Okay, now all we need to do is press F10, save and exit. Changes saved. It says reboot required. Let's go back, and then reboot the system. Now actually before we do that, what we might want to do is on the virtual images side, let us go ahead and add an image file to this thing. I'm actually going to pull this up, and I've downloaded the ISO image that works perfect for these kind of installs. You also see an OVA image over here that works better for VMs and stuff like that, but since this is bare metal, I'm going to be using this ISO image. Right, so I mounted this virtual drive, which is good, and press enter to reboot the system. So let's press enter. And once we do that, next time the system is going to boot up, it's going to go through your default booting sequence, and then CD-ROM is going to kick in, and then it will start installing the operating system. Okay, most likely there are some errors that popped up, but this is kind of normal. I'm going to view the errors, but I'm going to show you something very basic. You just say, it says new storage device has been detected and no action is required. No action is required. So that's pretty much it. So basically just ignore. It says attempting to boot from CD-ROM. That's a good thing. Okay, so the regular Ubuntu thing has popped up. Install Ubuntu server. And sometimes when you press enter, it might just take a little while for it to go forward. So just don't get too disheartened or think that this is not working. And it's probably looking for a DHCP IP address and it's not going to find anything. And then we'll go ahead and enter the IP addresses manually. Okay, so it says DHCP didn't work. Reconfigure network manually, and the IP address along with the mask. Continue. The gateway is correct. Now it's asking for a host name. Just a word of caution, admin or root is not going to work over here. It uses Ubuntu's default time servers, so it might just fail. And this one was actually a pretty important step, because if you did not set up your hard disk correctly, it would have failed right there. And at this point, it's try to reach out to the internet to download updates and things like that. And if the network connectivity is not there, it just wouldn't be able to do it, which is fine. So these are if you need any default servers to be installed. Now, one thing I would definitely recommend is install the OpenSSH server, which will let you SSH into the box. So installing grub bootloader on hard disk, this should be selected as yes. Now it will give you a warning saying that basically if you have another operating system it might be a problem, but since this is the only operating system, you should be installing this, otherwise your basically your operating system wouldn't be bootable. So make sure that you select that as yes. Well, it automatically removed it, and then I'm going to click on continue, and now your Ubuntu system should be coming up shortly. Alright, so this one is up and running. I'm gonna try administrator. Okay, alright, so you have Ubuntu completely installed on your system. Alright, thank you very much for watching.